Good afternoon, everyone. Well, the past 3 episodes have given me a lot to think about. And sometimes when we have to talk about the hard truths, they're much tougher than it seems. Because sometimes you say, also cannot. You get other people's morale drops. You don't say about it, people say you're running away from the issue. Then how? So it was at that point when I was thinking about all these issues and pharmacy and stuff that our friends were taking. And I said, in 20 seconds of insane courage, I told myself, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about all the difficult things and the hard truths that people don't want to talk about. And when we did that, the surprising thing was people told us it was uplifting. How could it be? Why would they say it is worth spending 1.5 hours on each video watching it? And I spent a fair bit of time thinking about it and asked myself, what went well? And when others had to deliver difficult truths to me, how did they do it so that it went well? And through all of this, what lessons can all of us learn so that we become better able to communicate these difficult truths to the people that we serve? And as I was thinking about it, I chanced upon a sharing by one of the top coaches in the world, Brenda Benz, and then it just hit straight away. We were successful because we embraced the Stockdale paradox. What is this Stockdale paradox? We're going to talk about it right now. So welcome to the 12th episode. It's 12 episodes. Welcome to the 12th episode of Life, Love, and Lipidemia. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the conversation. If you're here, just say hi. And if you're on YouTube, well, type in a comment, let me know that you're here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go and subscribe. We have conversations every Sunday, and every 4 sessions, I actually come and I think about what we did for the past 3 sessions, and I share my thoughts, share some reflections on it. So this is the 12th episode. My gosh, it's been 3 months since we started. How is it? Wow. And I don't even know what to say. I'm so grateful that you guys are here listening to me. And not just that, it's the comments that we get after each conversation. And it really inspires me that as I try to learn from everyone who comes on the show as guests, you guys are learning along with me as well. All right, so welcome to the show. Today, the topic is really about how we deliver the hard truths. How do you deliver news that is difficult? And sometimes when your team member or someone asks you a question and you don't have the answer, how do you actually deal with it? Right? And I've realized that for all the times that we were successful in something like this, we embrace this thought or this principle called the Stockdale paradox. So what is the Stockdale paradox? It actually came from this person. It's an admiral, pretty high-ranking officer. His name is James Stockdale, and he was actually caught and imprisoned for 7 years during the Vietnam War. And incredibly, he made it out with such high spirits. And when they asked him, what made you so resilient? How did you handle that 7 years? And he said this, and I quote, "I never got depressed because not only I never wavered in my faith that not only will I get out, but I would turn being in the camp to being the defining moment of my life. And in retrospect, I would not trade." And the follow-up question from the person who was interviewing Admiral Stockdale is this: so who did not make it out as strong as you did? And he said, easy. It was the optimist. And we're like, what? The optimist did not make it out? He said, yeah, because the optimists always thought that, hey, they said things like, hey, we'll be out by Christmas. And then Christmas would come and they would never be out. And then they said, oh, by Easter we'll be out, by Thanksgiving we'll be out. And when it came, they were never out. Well, they essentially died of a broken heart. So he said this: when you're imprisoned by great calamity, by great difficulty and great uncertainty, you have to, on one hand, never confuse the need for unwavering faith that you will eventually find a way to prevail, while on the other hand, having the discipline to confront the most brutal facts that we actually face. Right? And the truth is, we're not getting out of here by Christmas. And when I thought about that, and I think about the Pharmacy Heart Talk series, that is exactly what happened. Because you see, as much as the view counts were very interesting for us, and the attention that we were getting and how far the video was spreading, what really excited me and the guests were really the messages that we got and the things that we heard from people who contacted us privately and were having conversations with us are things like, oh, thanks for talking about it. I was really wondering what it was like, because my seniors told me about it, but they could not say much. And then they said it was inspiring. And then we got messages from new pharmacists. And then we got messages from pharmacy students. And then we got messages from pre-registration pharmacists. And we got messages from pharmacy technicians even. And then I said, oh, okay. Haven't your seniors or your teachers or hasn't someone spoken to you about it? They said, well, sometimes they come by and they just talk. Then it becomes an official statement. Not like we don't know. It's the same thing. What? I said, okay. But if your seniors were so affected by it, then why don't they talk about it? I asked the seniors themselves, if you were so affected by it, you know what the truth is because you are in the profession, why don't you talk about it? They say, yeah, never mind. Say also no use. Nothing will change. Right? And it's at that point that I started to think, have we been painting a really unrealistic dream for people who are coming into the profession? And when I look back at the Pharmacy Heart Talk series, what we did well is this. We were not afraid to confront the brutal truth. And the brutal truth is, let me just share with you one of the messages that I sent to my guests before the episode. All right, and it goes to the tune of this. And I said, what I think will be helpful for us is to discuss the topic as it is, rather than say, oh, if you're not happy, you can just quit and go somewhere. Well, that might be part of the answer, but it should not be the only answer. If you think the pay is low, say the pay is low. If you think that we are beneath doctors, then say that we are beneath doctors. But what would be helpful for everyone is to be able to share that in spite of the truth, what were some thought processes that you have? What were some habits that you have that allowed you to deal with it with a very different perspective? All right, and during the show, then you had Jasmine saying that, when she did projects, doctors thought of nurses first because they work much closer to nurses, not pharmacists. Well, the truth hurts. And Doreen said, oh, you think by getting a PharmD and going to your reg and all that, and you get a doctor something in front of your name, when you come back to the hospital, do you think that people will roll out the red carpet for you? That's the truth, the brutally honest truth. Okay, so what worked? What worked is we combined the brutally honest truth with hope. And that is the paradox, right? So that the truth is things are not good. Things are not as rosy as it seems. But we will prevail and things will get better. And this is what I did to help make my working life a bit better. And I think that's a very realistic way of painting a complete picture for everyone, because I very often say that not everyone is a passionate pharmacist or a passionate healthcare professional where you will do everything it takes, no matter how difficult it is. That's just not true. I think there are a lot of people who don't do what they love, but they still are able to do a decent job. So while you are still in that role, that whatever you're doing, what could help make life a bit better? And that's where we decided that the brutal truth is important. Okay, and I think it's important that people talk about it because the truth might hurt, but at least they don't feel cheated. And people hate to feel cheated. I know social work friends who started social work their journey as a professional social worker, because it was a dream to help the people in the community whom they serve. But they realized that the actual work was a lot tougher. And you have teachers who come into teaching because of a passion for educating and grooming, our youth, and they realize that there's so much admin work, and all of them do great work for society, and they should be appreciated. The real thing is, do people have a clear idea of what it is, right? Or have we all along been painting a very beautiful artificial picture? And when they step into the profession, whatever that profession is, they get the shock of their life. And they say, school never prepared me for this. Right. In the last episode, Dr. Chong, who is a medical director at the hospice, he was very open, and he said that yes, people who work in a hospice are angels, and even angels have to take care of themselves because it can be tiring. That's the truth. He's not going to paint a picture that, oh, we are all angels and we are all divine people. And no, they do have to take care of themselves, and sometimes things don't work out, and that's okay. And what did people say about that episode? Inspiring. Why were we inspiring? We were inspiring because we told the brutal truth combined with hope. Genuine hope. Now let's think about clinical practice, all right, and seeing patients. It reminded me of a time early last year where I started for the very first time in my life to feel some pain in my right knee. I've been playing squash for 22 years, competitive squash. And I started to be a little bit worried because it just wasn't going away, even though I rested for a number of months. When my knee was in pain, I got sent for an MRI. And when I went back for the review in the doctor's office and I saw the image on the screen, my heart just sank. Sometimes it doesn't help to understand how to read some of these images. So what happened? Cartilage, right? Not surprising because it's been 22 years in the game, up and down and lunging. The worst thing is there was no surgery and cartilage doesn't grow back very, very well. And then the doctor told me that I shouldn't play squash again. I was like, holy shit. And I mean, if I don't know how best to describe it, as I felt like my world just crashed. Okay, so he sent me to the physio and he said, I'll see you in a few months. Let's see how things go. Now, I went into the physio for my very first physio session. This was actually at Ng Teng Fong Hospital. And I met this guy called Gordon, the first physio who saw me. And he sat me down on one of those, those treatment beds. And he was having a conversation with me. He said, hey, tell me about what you do. Tell me about your work. And I said, oh, okay, I'm a smoking cessation counselor and I'm a pharmacist. He said, okay. And then he asked me about my squash life. And then I told him about 22 years of squash and the tournaments I joined. And I said, Gordon, what can I expect from this entire physio thing? Will I be able to play squash again? And he said this. He said, Sean, I know for people like you, all right, your sports is like a drug to you. Like without the drug, you will have withdrawal symptoms. And like you just need the drug. Well, the truth is, I don't really know how this whole thing will go. I can't promise you that you will be able to play squash again at the same level, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to try. And what I intend to help you with is to give you exercises to strengthen up the area around your knee so that it can hold the weight and it can handle the pressure better. Your job is to do the homework, which is doing the exercises that I tell you to do. And then we'll see how things go. Now, in my mind, I knew that it was going to be a very tall order, for me to be able to play squash at the same level as I played for the past 22 years. But because of what he said, I felt that there was really a chance that there is some hope and something that I should work for. So him combined with my next physio who took over him, this guy called Nif, great guy. They gave me exercises every day, almost every day, 5 to 6 days a week, 2 hours in the gym, strengthening and strengthening and strengthening and strengthening and strengthening. And each time it got better, I went back and I asked Nif, the new physio, so how, can I play again? And he would say, well, slowly, let's see how it goes. You strengthen up and let's see how much weight the knee can take. I was like, okay. I didn't like it, but that is the truth, the brutal truth. So then 4 months later, right, consistent gym, strengthen. By the way, I hate the gym. I absolutely hate the gym. The only reason why I go to the gym in the past is so that I can play squash better. The only reason why I went to the gym that time is so that I can play squash. Anything to play my favorite sport again. 4 months after I went back, consistent physio, and he sat me down and we did we spoke about my progress, and he looked me in the eye and he said, Sean, I think you should go back into the courts and start playing. I'm like, whoa, it's the kind of happiness is something that you can't describe. Clinging on to that strand of hope, yet understanding the reality. And because of the way that the difficult truth was communicated to me, guess what? I was able to play my favorite sport again. Well, maybe not at the same level as in the past, but being very realistic and understanding what I can do and what I can't do. Most importantly, I could step back into the court again. It's such a pleasure. And why did that work? It's a combination of brutal honesty with hope. And because of that, I trusted my physios. I know they are not going to smoke me. I know they are not going to paint an artificial picture for me. But the reality was made very clear to me, and I trusted that they would do their best. In the pharmacy, it's the same thing. When somebody comes to me, I once had a patient, he's been running for 30 plus years and suddenly feeling strain in his knees. He would do anything to get the knee fixed so that he can run again without pain. And he came up to me and he asked me, Mr. Sean, will glucosamine work for me? Well, I could have said yes and gotten the sale straight away. But here's the truth. For whatever you believe, glucosamine works for some people and it doesn't work for some people. Sometimes it is the brand, sometimes it is the ingredient itself, glucosamine. So I told him the truth, as I tell every patient the truth. And I said, I know that running means a lot to you, just like how squash means a lot to me. But I cannot promise you that glucosamine will work. Now, here's what some other patients have tried. Right? Some of them will say it takes about 4 months to work. Some of them say it takes about 6 months to work. But here's something for you to consider. Give it a shot for 4 to 6 months if you're willing to try. And if after 4 to 6 months, you don't see any effect, there could be 2 reasons, right? One is the brand doesn't suit you, or number 2, glucosamine doesn't even work for you. But if you try, you have to be consistent and you have to be willing to put in the work, have the discipline at least to take the supplements. And he said, okay. But he didn't buy it. Now, guess what? He became a customer for us for a very, 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 very long time. Why? Because of trust. Because I was willing to manage and share the brutally honest truth, and I combined it with hope. And that's the Stockdale paradox. And then I think about my work in counseling. So many of you might know that I'm a smoking cessation counselor, and either I do the counseling or my team does it. Sometimes I would focus more on training new smoking cessation counselors. When you speak to youth, especially for those who were caught smoking, it's not a good feeling. Some of you might remember that the It's not a good feeling for them, by the way. For me, it's my work. I love the work I do. Some of you might remember that the very first program that I conducted in smoking cessation, that was about 4+5 years ago. And you might remember in one of my earlier sharings that the first time I went to a class, we did a group activity. And in 2 minutes, this kid came up to me in my face and said, "Cher, F this shit." I was like, oh, wow. First real project. This is how my work is supposed to be. I was like, whoa. And that's where the story ended. Back then, what I did not tell you is that this is a 4-session program. So every week I go back for 1 hour. And during the next few sessions, we managed to get to know each other a little bit better. And when I asked him in session 3, how do you think smoking could affect the future that you see yourself being in? And he said, "Cher, I tell you something. It's very hard one now. Very hard to think of future." I'm like, why is it hard to think of a future? Hey, Cher, you all go A-level one, you're JC one, you're smart, you don't know us one. We normal technical one. Stupid one. I was like, wow, okay. So I said, if let's say that was not a factor, let's just say it's not a factor, right? What do you want to be in the future? I said, "Sure, I want to be a barista." That's it. They'll make coffee, that one. I said, yeah. I said, okay. Where can you learn the fundamentals about being a barista? I said, oh, sure. My school, the first floor there, they got a small cafe. Then there they say got program can learn how to be barista. I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I said, have you applied? And I said, sure, I'm thinking about it. I said, why don't you just go? And I said this to him. You know that being in the position you are in, the path is going to be slightly longer than some of us. It might be a different path. You might have to spend an extra year in secondary 5, or you might have to go to ITE before you go on to take your diploma. Whichever path you choose, it might be slightly longer. That's the truth. But along the way, there are a lot of experiences that you can gain, a lot of skill sets you can pick up. And what if along the way, someone looked at you, noticed your potential, and saw that despite whatever you say about yourself being normal technical, that you are just so damn good at what you do, which is being able to make coffee. What if somebody hired you or partnered with you in a business? You say you got no education, you say you got no money. What if they did the operations and you focus on making just really, really good coffee for your guests? What do you think of that? They say, hey, Cher, for real? I was like, you never know. It's possible. The journey might not be easy, but it's possible. And that is where the real smoking cessation session started. The recognition of the brutally honest truth combined with hope. And I can think of many, many examples. You know, when I work in the pharmacy as you know, in where I used to work, we were both pharmacists and store managers. I have a team of staff who work together with me. And sometimes they ask me, hey, Sean, this month got incentive or not? And the truth is, I don't know. And sometimes you might feel a bit awkward. Like, is it okay to say that I don't know? It really is okay. It really is okay. So sometimes I tell them I don't know. Sometimes I do know. And if the results are not looking good, because I can track the sales every month, I will tell them that we are short by X amount. And it might not be easy to get the incentive that we're looking for, because the incentives are just really high. And if you've been in retail, you will know that sometimes the perception that we have is how these people plan incentive. It is high, but just out of reach. Like you want to get there, but just cannot get there. But that's the truth. That is the truth of retail. But here's what we're going to do. At the very least, we will try our best. And if we serve our customers well, if we serve our patients well, we can hold our head high and say we've done our best. And if we hit the target, the incentive will come. Our principles remain. We will never hard sell anything to a patient. We will never sell a patient anything that they do not need, because the long-term relationship is very important to us. And as I was telling them, I said, you guys know more about relationships than me. I've been working there for 3-4 years. You have customers who won't even speak to me, but they follow you through all the branches in 20 years. Why? Because you stuck to your values, and they were good values. So what is the lesson really? It is the combination of the brutally honest truth combined with hope. And if we can do that, I mean, how valuable is your client's trust in you? I mean, in business, we say that people buy things from other people whom they trust. In our world in healthcare, people buy our thoughts, they buy our ideas, they buy what we say if they trust us. And I think that a huge part of my work in the pharmacy and leading a team, it's sometimes really the ability to say that I don't know. I don't know if things will change. I don't know if your condition will get better, but we'll keep working through it, and we are hopeful for a better future. You have to believe in the possibility of a better future. And it's the same thing that has worked so well when I taught in the prisons. It's the same. You cannot run away from the fact that they are, in their cells. But if you can get them to believe in the possibility of a better future, not a fake future, but a realistic possibility of a better future, imagine the impact that you can have on them. Imagine the impact you can have on your patients. Imagine the impact you can have on an entire generation of healthcare professionals who are coming into the profession. On the topic of why pharmacists say that they are so disillusioned, I mean, you have people who say, I didn't know it was like that. You have people who say that, wow, how come the university never prepared me for all this? Well, whose job is it really to paint this picture or shape the ideas of these students? I think it's everyone's job. The university, the ministry, Pharmaceutical Society of Singapore, existing pharmacies, new pharmacies, everywhere. And everyone has a part to play. And if the university says that there are some things that we can't say, and it's better left to other people, well, why don't you lay that platform? If you think that other people can come in and share the brutally honest truth, why? Why not? Why won't you do that? And sometimes if you say that you have been trying, it's great that you've been trying, but if the message is not getting through, could it be the way that the message is communicated? Could it be the frequency at which you are communicating? I mean, when you speak to students and you communicate with them, how often do you do that? Or do you only wait for one comment that goes on NUS Whispers when shit hits the fan, and then everybody comes and then deliver a message? I believe that these messages have to be very frequently and consistently delivered. Because if you deliver it only once and say that's it, then everybody else who has preconceived ideas are going to consistently share that talk. What kind of talk? It's these kinds of conversations that happen after work, when you go for dinner, after meetings, when you have lunch with your friends. This is what you complain about. This is what you bitch about. This is what you moan about. And these are the things that you wish were better. I really don't think that people come into our profession and they are suddenly angry about it. I really don't think so. I think that they are upset because they feel like they've been painted, they've been sold a different dream. And when they eventually come into the profession and they see what working life is like, they realize that the dream is not what they were painted. I mean, I was speaking to a very senior doctor last week, and he was sharing with me that, well, you know, it's if pharmacists think that because they graduated from pharmacy and they come into the profession expecting that everyone else will see them as the go-to person for medication advice, they are very sorely mistaken. Because they will soon realize the harsh reality that they have to earn that right. And you said the same thing for doctors. Okay. So really, as a leader, and when I say leader, I don't just mean people in top leadership positions. I really think that for us who are seniors, who've been in the profession for a while, you have an influence on everyone else around you. If you are a practicing professional, you are the leader in terms of help, because people look at you, they get influenced by things that you say. That's why you're a professional. That's what we go to school for, to have these kinds of knowledge that we can use to share with our patients. So as leaders, isn't it important that people trust the word that we say? Isn't that trust important for us to build up that reputation that we have so that people see us as authentic, see us as credible, see us as trustworthy? Or do we want to come across as the kind of people that, we will run away, we will just don't talk about this kind of stuff lah. If not, very awkward. Later people get angry. There are people who ask me if my content in the Pharmacy Hard Talk series was approved by a certain organization. Why? Because you are upset? Well, I think that it's important that we have these conversations, right? And what I thought seems to be what everyone is telling us. People who have contacted us, and they appreciate it so much. And I think that the main lesson that everyone should consider is this. In our work, we always have to deliver news, and it's not always good news. We don't really know what life will be like after COVID, and it's okay to say you don't know. But when we deliver the hard truths, it's important that we consider how we can embrace the Stockdale paradox, where we deliver the brutally honest truth, but we combine it with hope. And that way, we can better serve the people who we are meant to serve and inspire them to reach greater heights in health, in life, and in managing their team. Right, so with that, this is my sharing for this week. Let me know your thoughts, and if this was helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. For everyone who has put in comments, Dabita, Wendy, hello, Nachmi, Jane, Kenneth, and my mom, hello. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next week at 3 p.m. for my next guest. All right. Okay, bye everyone. Chat with you guys soon.